Wow. I have watched what I haven't gone over my list yet, but what I think is the best superhero movie of the year. That is Spider-Man No Way Home, and I want to talk about it. All right, welcome back to the DLJones show. I'm your host, DLJones, and I'm going to be telling you about Spider-Man No Way Home. I just checked it out a couple of days ago. I really enjoyed the movie, and like I said, it might be my #1 superhero movie of the year. I'm not sure yet. I got to go over it. I'm going to be putting out a video talking about that, sort of like I did last year. If you haven't checked that out last year, it's this video right here. Yeah, I talked about it last year. I did. Last year was a little bit different. It wasn't a whole lot of superhero movies, so I kind of reached a little bit for that video. But this year, we do have enough to fill out a full list. We do have a legit number of superhero movies to fill out a full list, and I'll be posting that up soon once I have a chance to get my thoughts together as far as what I feel is the movies that I enjoyed the best. But forget all that. I'm talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm telling you, it was good. It was Avengers Endgame level good. It was Black Panther good. Now, I'm not going to say it was as good as those movies. It was on a level, but it was kind of like a flight. Like if you had a flight of stairs, it was like Avengers Endgame, Black Panther was up here. Spider-Man No Way Home was about right here. And then the rest of the superhero movies were a little bit lower. The one thing that I thought about this movie that was really good and is all of the cameos, all of the surprise characters that showed up that we all knew was going to be in the movie anyway, because there was rumors about them all throughout the whole thing. But when they showed up on screen, it was pretty good. So basically the whole synopsis of the story, I guess we'll go through the synopsis of the story is according to IMDb. All right. So according to IMDb, with Spider-Man's identity now revealed, Peter asks Doctor Strange for help. When a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. Basically, Spider-Man in the last Spider-Man movie, Mysterio kind of put out a video at the end when he died, blaming Spider-Man for killing him, which he didn't actually kill him, but he kind of made Spider-Man look like he murdered him, and then revealed that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So now everybody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The movie starts off this way. It's crazy. It shows him, it starts off with him trying to get away. They know that MJ is his girlfriend, so they know that, she is the girlfriend of Spider-Man. They're harassing her. They're harassing all of his friends and all of that kind of stuff. And he's having a tough go at it, Eventually he gets arrested and they go to court and everything, and he gets found innocent for, everything that happened. He ended up getting found out that he didn't actually kill Mysterio. They find out the truth and everything, but the damage is done. Everybody knows he's Spider-Man. And it's like a situation where half of the people feel like he is innocent, and half of the people still feel like he's guilty. It's affecting his life. He can't get into college. Him or his friends, MJ and Ned, all of them are trying to apply to college. They're all getting rejection letter after rejection letter, and they're giving them reasons like, due to your association with Spider-Man, we can't allow you to, just stuff like that. It's just ruining everybody's life. And eventually he decides to go to Doctor Strange and ask Doctor Strange for help, and during him asking Doctor Strange for help, they decided they're going to try to find this spell. They're going to try this spell that would make everybody forget that he is Spider-Man, But when they're in the middle of doing the spell, he thinks about it and he was like, hold up. He don't want the people that already knows that he's Spider-Man to forget. He just wants everybody else to forget. And he kind of keeps stopping, interrupting the spell and everything. The spell went wrong. So what happens is everybody that knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man was trying to come through to this universe. Doctor Strange stopped it, but a few slipped through. That's how we end up with all of these characters. A lot of villains from other Spider-Man movies, Doc Ock, the Lizard Guy, Jamie Foxx's Electro, all of these, a lot of these characters, pretty much 6 different characters from other Spider-Man movies, from the from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield. All villains from those movies showed up in this universe, and now what he has to do is he has to go by and collect all of those villains, and so that Doctor Strange can reverse the spell and send them back to their time. But what he finds out is that all of those villains was pulled from their timeline right before they died, and a lot of them died when they were fighting Spider-Man. Once Spider-Man, Peter Parker, finds this out, he's like, he can't send them back to die. So he decides to go and try to do something to each one of those villains to correct whatever issue was causing them to be bad. And once they do that, then do the spell, then that way when they go back, they won't be doing the bad stuff and they won't get killed by Spider-Man. That was his goal. But of course, Doctor Strange didn't want it. He was like, it's not your job to do this. We need to send them back now. This is better. So that's when you see the series like in the trailers and stuff where Doctor Strange is chasing Spider-Man through all of the train tracks and all of that kind of stuff. Spider-Man ends up outsmarting him and trapping him somewhere, and he goes and tries to do what he wanted to do, was correct all of those people. Well, in the midst of that, the Goblin, the Goblin is a beast. The Goblin decides, no, I like it here. So he convinced all of the other people to help him. They escape. So now they got this big fight. Spider-Man, he's already, can't even deal with the Goblin. The Goblin kind of wiped the floor with him. Very sad spot. I'm not even going to spoil it this far. There's going to be some spoilers in here, but I'm not going to spoil too much. But anyway, what ends up happening is Spider-Man ends up getting help from the other Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Come to find out that they were sucked into this universe too during this spell mishap. So, and they already had like spider senses thinking that somebody needed their help, that Spider-Man of this universe needed their help. It's like they already, in this movie, they've already been Spider-Man for a while. They've seen a lot of things. So it doesn't really surprise them too much what's going on. You could tell that they wasn't really surprised. I guess throughout their life, they've seen them. They didn't age them back to what they were in that movie. They kind of put them like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was sort of like the 40-year-old Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield, he was like in his 30s. Neither one of them were teenagers or college age kids anymore. They've been Spider-Man for a while. They've had a whole lifetime of being Spider-Man. So when they started getting their spider sense, they sensed that the Spider-Man of this world needed help, and they just kind of went with it. They just knew what was up. They're used to it. They're veterans, So they come there and they come up with a plan to collect all of the other Spider-Men. And then that's when the big battle ensues and everything. It was just pretty good. Things I liked about this movie was, one thing that was really good was the interaction between Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's character. Their interaction, those two together were pretty good. I wouldn't mind seeing another movie with them two teaming up as two different Spider-Mans together. They were pretty good together on the screen. All three of the Spider-Man was pretty much a joy to see on the screen. It was pretty good. Jamie Foxx, his Electro character kind of was redeemed. I kind of thought his character in the original movie that he played Electro, I didn't like his character in that Electro, but they kind of revamped his character for this one. They had a good explanation as to why, he's a little bit different, in this one than he was the other one. Basically, the electricity that flowed through his body and all of that kind of stuff was different in this dimension than it was in the other dimension. So it kind of changed him a little bit, made him a better character. He was just a more interesting character, a better character. In the other movie that he was in, I didn't really like him all of that much, but he was redeemed in this movie. Sandman was in this movie. He was pretty good. Doc Ock, he was pretty good. At the end of his movie, he kind of kind of redeemed himself at the end of his movie just before he died in the Spider-Man movie that he was in. So he kind of was an ally for the most part in this movie. But yeah, it was a pretty good movie, pretty good scenes in it. Doctor Strange, he had his moment at the beginning, but they kind of took him out for the whole movie. He don't show up again till the end. He kind of was in it just for the spell part of it, but then after that part was set up, they found a way to get him out the picture because I guess they didn't want to make this a Doctor Strange movie. It went back to being a Spider-Man movie, But yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of action, a lot of entertaining scenes and stuff like that. And a lot of good moments, a lot of good moments that made you just smile when you watched the movie. movie. I just thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I had a lot of fun with the movie. I would say if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it. Go ahead and see it. The only thing I didn't like about this movie is that I went to see it in the movie theater, and the movie theater was packed, and I saw it in the IMAX screen. And I'm not sure about how theaters are everywhere else, but here, the movie theater that I go to, it has several different screens. And even though IMAX is awesome, I usually don't pick IMAX because the seating in that theater is sort of like stadium seating where chairs are like right beside each other. There's no separation. You even share armrest, you know what I'm saying? And I just don't like that. It's fine if you go there and there's not many people there and you get to sit on a row by yourself, how it's pretty much been since the pandemic. But this particular time, the movie theater was completely filled. So I had people sitting on both sides of me, and I just was so uncomfortable thinking about, you know, not only do I not like to have people sitting that close to me, you know, just people that's not there with me, but just thinking about all of the stuff that's going on now with COVID and all of that kind of stuff. It just, everything just, I just didn't like that. You know, I would have rather watched this at home, you know, or I would have rather watched it in one of the other theaters, which their seating is a little better and a little more space. You know, you're not sharing armrests with the person beside you and all of that kind of stuff. But they were sold out. You know, a lot of people, I guess they decided this is the movie that they couldn't come out to go watch. They were all sold out. This was the only one I was able to get unless I waited a little longer. Other than that, you know, I really enjoyed this movie. I would say check it out. You know, it's worth going to the theater to see. One thing that happened at the end that I thought was pretty funny was that, you know, they, at the end of Venom, if you check out my Venom review, you know, I did a review of Venom. If you've seen that, at the post-credit scene on Venom kind of brought Venom and Tom Hardy and all of that stuff into the Spider-Man's universe. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a plot hole. Maybe I'm missing something, but the whole thing with Doctor Strange's spell is that the people that got brought into the Spider-Man's universe were all people who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And if I'm not mistaken, Venom didn't know, Tom Hardy and Venom, they didn't know who Peter Parker, he didn't know who Spider-Man was or who Peter Parker was, but they were still brought into this universe. And I don't know why, you know, I don't, that part I didn't get, you know, but they had another post-credit scene, well, a mid-credit scene at the end of this movie where they kind of reversed that. You know, they show where when Doctor Strange did his spell at the end of the movie to put everybody back to the universe that they're supposed to be in, it actually sent Venom and Tom Hardy back to their universe. And so it kind of undid everything. It undid bringing them into the Spider-Man universe and putting them back into their own universe. But what they did do is that once they disappeared and went back to their universe, they were sitting in a bar, you know, having a drink. And what ended up happening is they saw a little bit of the symbiote was left behind. So that's something that they're probably going to use to set up a Venom in the Spider-Man MCU universe. And while the Venom that we all know has gone back to the Sony universe, you know, that's interesting. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. And then at the end, of course, they showed the new trailer for the new Doctor Strange 2 movie, which was awesome, you know. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I would say go check it out if you haven't seen it. And you know what? It's been a pretty good year. Some of the superhero movies this year have been they didn't live up to what I hoped, but you know, I've had fun, you know. And Spider-Man was a good ending to a year of superhero movies, especially after the 2020 we had, where a lot of stuff was delayed and put on the back burner and all of that kind of stuff. Things are starting to get back to normal a little bit as far as watching movies and movies that are releasing. And Spider-Man probably is the first really good one that came out in theaters. And I enjoyed it. So again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.